What if I told you the most dangerous thing Henry VIII ever wrote wasn't a law, a decree, or a death warrant? It was a love letter. 8 years before Anne Boleyn would step toward the scaffold, the King of England was writing to her like a man with no crown at all, obsessive, needy, and quietly humiliating. These weren't the words of a confident ruler. They were the words of a man unraveling on paper, and somehow they survived. Enemies of England stole them, smuggled them across Europe, and locked them away in Rome out of Henry's reach. 17 letters. Not one surviving reply from Anne. That silence matters, because it suggests Henry erased her voice later, but he couldn't erase his own. So tonight, we're opening the file Henry tried to bury. Not to romanticize it, because once you read what he wrote, it stops sounding like love and starts sounding like possession. It's the story of how a king's desire hardened into obsession, how obsession reshaped a nation, and how the same mind that begged for a kiss would later order a head to fall. If you're here for the dark truths, history polished over, subscribe, because what those letters reveal isn't sweet. It's a blueprint for tyranny disguised as romance. Deep inside the Vatican archives, there are rooms built for secrets that powerful people don't want remembered. Cold stone, locked doors, documents that can't be allowed to breathe. And somewhere in that darkness sat Henry's private humiliation, letters written in secret, folded and sealed, meant for Anne's hands alone. How did they get there? The most chilling theory is betrayal. Someone close to Anne, someone she trusted, may have been feeding information to Rome. Couriers intercepted, copies made, private promises turned into intelligence. The Pope wanted to know what was happening inside the mind of the king, tearing England away from Catholic authority. And these letters offered a front row seat to Henry's descent, because in them, Henry doesn't command, he pleads. He counts time like a starving man. How long since he kissed her? How long since he saw her? How long since she gave him certainty? In one line, he admits he's been struck with the dart of love for more than a year. Imagine that. A king confessing he's been wounded, bleeding, and he can't stop it. And the tone is the tell. No royal distance, no careful restraint, just raw need. A man who can have anything in England except the one thing that won't surrender. Then the letters get stranger. Henry doesn't just write words, he performs. He repeats their initials, H and A, intertwined again and again. Like ink can bind a human being. He doodles hearts in the margins. He signs off with little symbols and private jokes that feel less like romance and more like marking territory. And he isn't shy about what he wants. One infamous phrase has Henry wishing to kiss Anne's pretty duckies, a crude slang for breasts. Let that land, the head of state, the man who would soon claim divine authority over the Church of England, sending sexual longing by messenger as if the risk doesn't matter, because obsession makes people reckless. But Anne Boleyn understood something Henry didn't. Men who have everything only crave what they can't have. And she refused to be easy. She had watched the court chew up women and spit them out. Her own sister, Mary Boleyn, had been Henry's lover, and when he got bored, Mary was discarded. With no lasting protection and no real power, Anne learned the lesson. So when Henry offered her the role, no woman refused mistress.
Yes, Henry.
Secret possession? She didn't say yes. She said no. Not never. Just not like that. Not without a crown. And that single refusal did something terrifying. It didn't push Henry away. It hooked him deeper and reframed the game with surgical precision. She didn't insult the king. She didn't publicly shame him. She redirected him, offering admiration from afar, courtly devotion, the kind of mistress that stays untouchable. And Henry, unprepared for a woman who wouldn't submit, began to spiral. His letters grow frantic. He begs for clarity. He asks for her whole mind about their love, as if uncertainty is torture. Picture the imbalance. The man who can order an execution with a sentence, pleading with a woman to tell him where he stands. That's not romance. That's dependency. And dependency has a dark twin, resentment. Because a man like Henry can tolerate many things: disobedience, scandal, even betrayal, but he cannot tolerate feeling weak, and made him feel weak, not with cruelty, but with control. Then 1528 sharpened the obsession into panic. Anne caught the sweating sickness, one of Tudor England's most terrifying illnesses. It struck fast, drenched victims in fever and sweat, and killed within a day. Henry couldn't go to her without risking infection. Kings don't visit the sick, but Henry sent his best physician anyway. And he wrote, in terror, claiming he'd rather suffer the disease himself than lose her. Because the truth was simple: he still hadn't possessed her, and death might steal what he believed belonged to him. Anne survived. And Henry learned a lesson that would poison everything. He couldn't allow the world god, Rome, illness, or time to take away what he'd decided was his. So he escalated. When the Pope refused to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, Henry didn't accept no. He declared he didn't need the Pope at all. That's the turning point the letters foreshadow. The same man who begged Anne for certainty began rewriting reality to get it. He broke England from Rome. He built a new church with himself at the top. He executed opposition. He shattered centuries of religious order, not because of theology, but because he couldn't tolerate being denied. 7 years of pursuit ended in a secret marriage in January 1533. Anne was crowned queen in June. The chase was over. And here's the brutal truth about obsession. It dies the moment it's fulfilled. The letters fade. The tenderness cools. What remains is expectation, and expectation is merciless. Henry didn't want love. He wanted an heir, a son to prove God approved of his choices. Anne gave him a daughter, Elizabeth, then miscarriages, then pressure. By January 1536, Anne was pregnant again when Henry suffered a devastating jousting accident, thrown unconscious for hours. The shock hit Anne like a blade. She miscarried. Some reports claimed the lost child was a boy, whether true or propaganda. The effect was fatal. Henry's faith in Anne collapsed. And once a tyrant stops believing in you, he starts looking for an exit. The exit arrived as a whisper, exactly the way political murder usually begins. A woman in the royal household was caught in scandal, and in desperation, she deflected. What I did is nothing compared to what the Queen does. The words didn't have to be true. They only had to be useful. Thomas Cromwell heard them and moved like a blade. What followed wasn't an investigation. It was a hunt designed to produce a verdict.
I confess, Mary, I find myself distracted from the